Every day, ordinary people face extraordinary times in their lives.
I thought my family would be torn apart.
God, I never thought I'd be sitting in a police cell at my age.
What do I do? Who do I turn to? Where do I go?
But in our most desperate moments,
You know, it really was life and death for him.
there are specialist lawyers we can turn to for help.
What's wrong? Well, I'm chatting.
The north of England is home to some of the country's most passionate solicitors.
We're told not to get too emotionally attached, but how can you not?
Everybody has the right to be dealt with fairly.
They leave no stone unturned.
We've got good evidence and we're going to go to court.
In their relentless fight
I'm not going to leave anything behind.
to ensure justice is served.
When you win a case like that, you know you've made a difference.
My solicitor's an absolute star. Literally changed my life.
Coming up in today's show, an immigration lawyer reunites a father and son,
Knowing that you've changed someone's life is fantastic. It means a lot.
after he was refused entry to the UK.
I remember just crying. The only reason I'm here is for my son.
And a local solicitor takes landlords to court.
I hope that sends a message that people won't stand for it anymore.
To get justice for a man who nearly lost his hand.
I suffered in silence. She's done brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Immigration lawyer Liaquat Latif
One interrupted.
Good morning.
runs a busy office in the centre of Newcastle.
I just want him to understand that once we put the visa application in, then the clock stops.
He and his team work tirelessly to ensure those with the legal rights to live in the UK can do so.
The biggest buzz about this job is actually keeping families together. These two we need to do, don't we, quite quickly. Trying to empathise with the fact that I've got family. What would it feel like?
Do you know that Adipsodopus can glow in the dark?
Really?
Yeah.
And family was at the heart of Trent Griffith's decision to swap his life in Australia for a new one in County Durham.
So I just landed, I came up to the gate and they just asked what my business was here. And I said that I was looking to relocate to the United Kingdom. It was pretty much just me being honest.
But disaster struck as soon as his feet touched the ground.
It was initially stamped and then they crossed it out. And it was when I told them that I was planning on relocating that they crossed it out and then went to detain me.
Trent's desire to move to the northeast of England was to be the best father he could be for his son, Hugo.
With my biological dad, I never really knew him. Once my brother stopped going and seeing him, I think I went maybe once or twice by myself, and then I stopped going and seeing him purely because there was just no connection. And I guess that's one of the reasons why experiencing that is why I wanted to move over here to develop that connection with Hugo, because I knew if you don't develop it, then you're not a real father. What?
Do you want some carrots, Carrie?
Oh, she's heard you.
Carrie?
Hugo was born in Australia.
I met an English girl. She moved to Australia, had a child, and the rest is history. Right, so you ready to have a kick?
Kick it over the fence.
Do you think?
I will.
You will?
Trent and Hugo's mother, Kate, were married.
Done.
When they separated, she decided to return to the UK with Hugo.
We both came to an agreement that he was going to reside in the United Kingdom and we would work together to get some child arrangements in place where I had access to him.
Trent's contact with Hugo was formalised by the courts. And initially, he thought that meant he would be able to move to the UK too, to be closer to his son.
I remortgaged my house so I had the funds to do it.
Trent landed in the UK just in time for Hugo's first birthday. But it wasn't quite the happy reunion he had planned.
You know, it's about 24 hours in travel time. I was hoping to see Hugo that night. I wasn't able to. It was horrible. That was a really bad night, and I ended up staying at the airport.
Trent was questioned and threatened with instant removal before a short-term solution was agreed.
Originally, they were going to turn me around straight away. With a bit of talking, we were able to agree that I'd be able to stay for my son's first birthday and then leave the country.
Trent was given 1 week to spend with his son, but would have to go back to Australia after that.
I do not have friends here. I left a good job. I left animals and family and everything. Only reason I'm here is for my son. It's amazing how you'll fight so hard for one thing. I was thinking, how bad of a situation can this turn into? If things weren't bad enough as it was starting to dawn that possibly things could get a lot worse.
Fearful the relationship with his son would be forever long distance, Trent sought urgent legal advice and found Liaquat online.
I'm a parent myself. People are saying to detach work from your personal life, but in immigration it's very difficult.
Liaquat only had a few days to try and stop Trent from being sent home.
This guy is a father, a parent, a good parent. He's given everything up to move across the world, so in that case it was very unusual. The Home Office were being quite strict on him, and the stricter they became, the more we wanted to fight for this guy. They give him a 1 week's temporary admission, asking him to then leave, go back to Australia and apply for a different visa.
Everything I owned was on a container ship in the middle of the ocean, so it started getting a bit real around then, I think.
His whole future's at stake. He's not sure what's going to happen. He thinks all his dreams are going to go up in flames, you know, his future with his son. And that is the case, because it can easily happen. So he's right to be nervous.
Until a more permanent solution could be found, Liaquat applied for an emergency injunction against the decision to remove Trent from the UK.
What we did when we saw him is that we said, and we had to turn around very quickly, is to put together a paid application based on Trent's and his son Hugo's Article 8 rights to family life.
Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights guarantees the right to family life and is used in many legal cases involving immigration and family law.
It gives you entitlement, if it's accepted, to live here on the basis of your family life.
Although not a final solution, the High Court granted a temporary injunction against Trent's immediate removal from the UK.
He wasn't out of the woods because obviously they still had to consider the application. We still thought at that stage that they would be successful because it involved children.
After an agonising wait, Trent received a response from the Home Office to his application for a more permanent stay.
I remember I had Hugo at the time, and Hugo was hugging my leg, and I remember opening the letter, and the letter saying that my visa was declined. And I remember just looking down at him, and yeah, it was a really, really difficult time.
The Home Office said he should have applied for a parent visa before he left Australia. He was told that he must go back and start the process all over again.
I remember just crying. It was just terrible, just knowing that I may have to leave him, especially with seeing him so often during that period. And the connection that we had made, which is everything that I wanted.
What's the intruder?
And then to be told the visa had failed, once again being put back in that position of uncertainty and even worse, not being able to be with my son was yeah, a terrible time. I was just having one of the worst days of my life, really.
3, 2, 1.
Later, Liaquat has his work cut out if he's to ensure Trent can be the father he's always wanted to be for Hugo.
he's right to be nervous. We cannot tell him that everything will be all right. You have to tell him what the chances are.
I hope it's a quiet day in the court today. This could have been resolved 2 years ago.
40 miles south of Newcastle, solicitor Sarah Magson is heading to court to try and bring to a close a case she's been fighting for a long while.
Hopefully this will be the end of it today.
If she gets the result she's after for her client Andrew, it could pave the way for other people in his position to have their legal fees paid for in similar cases.
If we do get the right decision today, it's a win for you, and it's hopefully going to be a win for other people who find themselves in similar...
in the same situation, as me, and they don't know where to turn to.
There is a quality of housing crisis in many of Britain's towns and cities. Thousands of privately rented and social housing properties are being neglected, putting tenants' health and well-being at serious risk.
A lot of local authorities across the country now have got rid of their, what used to be known as council housing, and they've got private companies, housing associations, to kind of look after particular areas, but they're not looking after them. You know, we've got lots of tenants subject to all sorts of disrepair, mould, bed bugs, fleas, rats, vermin. People are living in substandard conditions, and, you know, this day and age, there's no reason that there should be.
At the law firm Watson Woodhouse, Sarah takes on cases against landlords and housing associations on behalf of tenants in desperate need of help. Andrew was one of those tenants. He got in touch with Sarah in the hope she might help him hold his landlord to account.
Andrew couldn't afford to pay for a solicitor, so he came in to inquire whether there was anything we could do to support him. He was really upset about what had happened.
Shocked by what Andrew told her, Sarah agreed to take the case under a no-win, no-fee arrangement.
You're hoping that you're going to be able to get back into work at some point in the future. And...
Yeah. I'm just trying to find a job what I'll take with no right hand.
The circumstances leading to Andrew's injury began when he moved into a property in Middlesbrough.
I was in 83, windows smashed up there, round the other side, kitchen windows smashed. And I've put cardboard on it to keep the windows.
The house was owned by a private landlord, but let to Andrew through a local housing provider.
See the front door? Not secure, do you know what I mean? Even this, it's unsafe, look. If a gush of wind comes, it'll go straight through. And this is how I've been living. Freezing cold.
But it was the rear of the house where Andrew's biggest problem lay.
So that's new, isn't it? That was the brick wall that crumbled.
When Andrew moved in, the wall adjoining his backyard with next doors was crumbling and unstable. Fearful it might collapse, he complained to his housing provider. But they failed to act on his complaint, and then Andrew's worst fears were realised.
When you open the back gate, the wall's about this high, and the old rock just fell on me. I hit the floor, and I just can't really remember much.
The falling wall injured Andrew's hand, and a few days later, a friend noticed something seriously wrong.
The last who was there said, your arm starts swelling up, and, like, you were confused. And, like, I can't remember this.
Andrew's wound had become infected, and he had developed sepsis, a life-threatening condition where a person's immune system overreacts and starts to damage the body's tissues and organs.
The poison was in my arm. Once it's gone up my arm and it's fed my body, that's it. There was no turning back. When I actually got to the hospital, they just took one look at me and took me straight through the intensive care unit. If the woman ever phoned the ambulance and got there in time, I was inches from death. I can imagine my mum, my brother, my dad and all of them being devastated.
Andrew went into emergency surgery.
You actually see the cut open, right open there.
At one stage, you were advised there was a risk of amputation of the right hand.
They said, we're going to take his hand off. If it doesn't work, then we'll take his arm off. And I was thinking, no. I only found out this when I woke up. So I could have woke up with no arm.
Although doctors saved Andrew's hand, he will always have to live with the consequences of the accident.
I don't think the hand will ever repair. You might get a little bit of movement over the years, but it's never going to be the same again, but at least you still got your hand and your health. It's the most important, isn't it?
With Sarah now on the case, her priority was to make sure repairs were made to provide Andrew with a safer environment to live in.
Once I saw the state of the wall, I thought, well, we need to do something about this. That should have been a brick cement wall. It's just unsafe. There was no denying that it was dangerous. He didn't want to go out into the backyard.
I was depressed, brought depression onto me. There was nothing I could do.
So we felt it was really important to get this wall repaired for him so that he could get out and use his house.
Sarah wrote to the landlords.
They didn't do anything, so we had to take matters into our own hands.
Determined to fight Andrew's cause, Sarah launched a private prosecution against both his landlord and the landlord of the house next door.
A person aggrieved by a statutory nuisance has the right to summons those responsible to come to court, and if the court is satisfied that a nuisance exists, they can make an order. So essentially the danger is removed.
Sarah set about preparing her case for court.
We needed to establish, well, a couple of things really. One, that there was a statutory nuisance that was prejudicial to health, and also that who was responsible for the wall. So we got a surveyor to come out and have a look at it and to confirm whether it was a party wall, but also to make recommendations as to what needed to be done.
As Sarah had agreed to take the case on a no-win, no-fee basis, none of her work was costing Andrew any money. If the prosecution was successful, it would be the two landlords footing her bill. And at court, the judge agreed with Andrew and ordered the repairs to be done. But there was a sting in the tail.
The court had made a decision that you couldn't get your legal costs.
Yeah.
And without your legal costs, you can't instruct a solicitor.
The judge ruled that Andrew's legal costs should not be paid by the landlords. It was a decision that could have huge implications for people in a similar position.
If solicitors can't represent the clients on a no-win, no-fee basis, for individuals like Andrew, it means that they would have been able to go and get the improvements to the property.
If no-win, no-fee arrangements became unavailable for low-income tenants in dangerous properties, then it would be near impossible for lawyers like Sarah to step in.
You know, we're willing to help people that are living in these conditions. We can take it into our own hands and we can get to court, but we can only do so when the court are making the correct decisions.
Realising the serious and wide-reaching implications of the judge's ruling, Sarah knew she needed to do something.
We felt very strongly that that decision was the wrong decision. It then meant that that landlord or that owner thought he got away with it, and that actually he didn't have to comply with that court order because he could infer that Andrew would not be legally represented any longer. And we felt very strongly that it was going to set a precedent, which meant that solicitors wouldn't take on these cases because they weren't going to get paid for all the work that they've done.
Sarah took the case to the High Court in London. She set out why she felt the judge in Middlesbrough had misrepresented the law on housing claims. And the court agreed. To finally bring Andrew's case to a close, she just needs the original ruling to be changed back in Middlesbrough. Today is their big day in court, their chance to set a precedent for future no-win, no-fee cases like Andrew's.
It's important the judge looks at this properly and makes the right decision and that the owner of the property next door has to pay towards the legal costs.
Yeah. Do you want me to carry that for you?
It's on wheels.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm used to it.
2 years after Andrew's accident, Sarah once again presents his case in court. And this time, the judge indicates that the landlords will need to pay his legal costs.
A really good outcome, you know, really pleased. The judge went through the work that we'd had to do to get the successful conclusion for Andrew and has awarded costs in Andrew's favour. The owners of the property will now have to pay those costs because they can't just leave properties to fall into dilapidation and expect to get away with it with no repercussions. And then you're going to be able to move on. So,
Big thumbs up.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
happy. She's done brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I hope that sends a message to landlords and to local authorities in the area that people won't stand for it anymore.
Newcastle is an increasingly multicultural city, and immigration lawyer Liaquat Latif is an important member of the community. Having grown up in the west end of the city, it's where he likes to spend a lot of his time.
It gives you a chance to kind of just go away from, you know, sometimes the office, you're dealing with very emotional issues at the office, so it's good just to have a change of background.
And it was certainly an emotional time for Liaquat's client, Trent, in County Durham.
It was a completely innocent mistake that Trent made, and it was through complete honesty. So you can't, you know, hang drawing court at the guy for being completely honest.
After a divorce from his wife, Australian Trent had assumed a court ruling giving him access to his son Hugo would mean he was able to relocate to the UK to be near him. But he was wrong, and the Home Office had turned down his application to stay.
Once a correct human rights application was made, outlining completely the honest truth of the application and the evidence there, I think they should have backed down then, and they didn't. They still put pressure on him to leave.
Not one to give up easily, Liaquat decided to appeal the decision and began gathering evidence that Trent's staying was critical for Hugo.
You know, the evidence of increased contact, we had photographs showing them together. We had a very detailed statement from Trent outlining the circumstance how he arrived, how he was sorry if he'd done anything wrong, and the impact it would have on Hugo. This case revolved around the son. This case revolved around the future of Hugo.
Pretty good.
Got it down, this one down.
Despite wholeheartedly believing in his case, Liaquat knew there was no guarantees of success, and he felt the pressure.
We care for the clients. We're sweating on it as well. You feel that you've told the client everything. You haven't given them any false hope. But it's more than that. You know, the cases mean more than that. So, you know, you take it personally. If a client's then removed, you would take it personally, or rather, I would take it personally.
Liaquat couldn't leave any stone unturned.
We put in everything that we can. We don't want to go into that case and think afterwards, oh, I should have done this or that. No, no way. It has to be done. It's there on the table in front of the judge. You haven't got a second chance. You're playing with people's lives. And that's exactly what happened. So we had, you know, good evidence. There was a lot of evidence in this bundle. Really lengthy witness statement. Great evidence, as was the case all the way through, from his ex-partner, which is crucial.
Trent's ex-wife and Hugo's mother, Kate, knew the importance of winning the case.
What's this? Come on then.
He wants to be there for Hugo because he never had that himself growing up. I had seen the relationship that Trent and Hugo had built. For them to have built that relationship up over a matter of months, and then if I didn't help out in the court case, for then Trent to have to go back to Australia, it would have really all been for nothing. And I think I've seen the happiness that it does bring Hugo when his dad's around, and I wanted that to continue.
It was getting to the point now where I was exhausting all the help I could. My parents were lending me money, my sister was lending me money.
By the time the court date arrived, they knew they had done everything they could.
Mr. Latif represented me, and Hugo's mother attended with me, and we made the appeal.
He's obviously in some doubt as to what's going to happen and what's going to happen to his future, and it is really, without laying into the emotion, is he going to still be here with his son? This day in court is pressurized. This is going to decide it for him. We went through the evidence. The witness statement was very detailed. The Home Office, as is their right, cross-examined it. I think there was a fair cross-examination, testing him on his evidence, you know, especially the initial basis he'd come and why couldn't he go back. We then turned to legal arguments, and our legal argument was the basic one, that it was a breach of family life.
With the appeal heard, nothing more could be done. Trent now faced an agonizing wait.
His future's hanging in the balance. He's right to be nervous. We cannot tell him that you've got absolute concrete case, everything will be all right. You have to tell him what the chances are. And in the end, the judge agreed that, you know, she accepted it was a genuine relationship. Trent was over the moon. He was relieved. He was happy.
Well, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. Of course, it's brilliant.
His immigration journey, in a way, had ended, but his journey, his real journey as a father, had just begun.
Oh, you're happy now, aren't you?
Yeah.
They were questioning the right for him to be a father. That had gone, so you could relax and you could truly just get on with the business of being a father. And I think that really came through. He's come across halfway across the world. He's given everything up. And he said to me lots of times, this is what came through with his son. That was his most important thing in the world.
No longer being threatened with removal, Trent was free to settle in County Durham and be the father he always wanted to be for Hugo.
To see Hugo happy and to see him have that opportunity to have both his mum and dad in his life from what has happened in the past, I think it's a wonderful experience for him as well. He's doing brilliantly, absolutely fantastic. When you're around him, you can't wipe the smile off your face because he's just so fun to be around. He's such a wonderful little boy.
I've got a fiancée. I love her. I love my son. Everything's looking up. Everything's great. Looking forward to the future with my son.
He was really thankful, and that means a lot. Knowing that you've changed someone's life is fantastic.